everyone, so today I'm working on creating a new level for my game. It is supposed to be the first level, but let's see how this goes. For this, I wanted to keep things simple so players can get used to the controls. But at the same time, I didn't want to be too easy, so I thought of including more tilting mechanics to make it more engaging. That way, players can't just press one button and breeze through. They will have to tilt and maneuver, dodge obstacles, and avoid crashes. So I decided to add these two bars that the player needs to evade to get through a specific section. Here you can see I'm testing if it's even possible to complete this segment, and yeah, I am failing pretty hard at it. So I decided to try again, this time thinking maybe if I gain momentum from the further back, it might help me push through. The simple player boundary is what I'm setting up right now. I have placed some roads, distant backgrounds, and foregrounds elements to add depth to the scene. This layering really helps give it a sense of space. But honestly, this part of the level is turning out harder than I expected. Even after multiple tries, I still haven't made it through once. There's a problem where the car gets stuck, which obviously shouldn't happen. So yeah, quick fix needed there. Seems like this is going to be a recurring issue unless I address the collision. One solution I'm thinking of is using a low friction or no friction physics material for the car's collider. I have created a new physics material for that, and I'll test it out to see if it helps the car glide better through tight spots. I'm still in the process of balancing things. I want this level to be fun, visually pleasing, and have the gradual difficulty curve. So yeah, lots of trial and error at the moment. Now for the visuals, I have set the camera to perspective view to get the nice parallax effect. By slightly offsetting the background and foreground along the jet axis, it creates the immersive depth, where closer elements move faster and distant ones move slower. It makes a big difference visually. While working on the level, I also had this idea of a falling rock trap. Like, if a rock falls from a cliff and hits your car, it explodes. So I started digging through my particle effects and found one that could work. The only issue is my rock looks wet and shiny, while the particles are dark and dusty. So I had to tweak the materials to match better. I set up a script for the rolling rock. It's attached to a body, and when the player enters the trigger zone, the rock's rigid body gets stimulated and it starts falling. I'm also creating a custom material for it and tweaking particle system values, adding collisions, bounces, and all those cool stuffs, so everything blends well visually. The rock explodes on impact and spawns a particle effect. Here I'm just testing if the ball is detected by the missiles and explodes accordingly or not. Still facing a few issues like the particles spawning at weird offsets, so I'll have to fix those next. Let's see, how does it look when placed on the track? The idea is when a player triggers somewhere in the area, the rocks start falling. If it hits the car, it's direct game over. The only way to dodge is it to destroy it. Here I'm testing how easy or difficult is it to play through this. It seems it's quite difficult to pass through here, and missiles also does not hit accurately when the rock is coming straight towards you. I have died quite a lot of times here now, so I changed the path a little bit, adding some bumps here and there. After a few more playtests, I have realized that the timing for this trap is really tricky. Not sure if I'll keep it in the final version, especially since this is the first level and I don't want players to get frustrated right off the bat. Maybe I will keep this on the latter level. Alright, moving on to the next part, I decided to add this crusher-like object that comes down and slams into the ground. If the player gets caught in between during the smash, it's game over. To make it look more impactful, I wanted to add some particle effects on the impact. Something like stone scattering and dust clouds forming. I started checking if I already had a particular effect like that in my assets, but turns out I didn't. I scrolled through a few existing ones to see if I could reuse something. Tweaked a couple of values, but yeah, I realized I'll probably have to create a new one from scratch. I wanted a mix of dusty smokes and flying debris to give that heavy slam feel, so I started setting up the particle system. Added gravity, some velocity, played with the shape and size to give it that splash effect when it hits the ground. From the smoke part, I did something similar. Adjusted and spread light lifetime and made sure it does not look too dense. Stone particle, smoke particle. Here, how it's looking right now. Not bad, but I think the scale is a bit off. Also, the timing felt a little off, so I quickly fixed that. At one point, there were way too many particles and it looked overwhelming, so I had to dial it down to keep it clean. Now it looks much better, smoother and not too cluttered. After that, I added multiple crushes that moves in a set pattern, kind of like a warning indicator before the slam. It's not meant to be a super difficult obstacle, just something for the player to avoid while also being visually satisfying. I adjusted the number of crosshairs and tweaked the timings again. Finally, I ran a test from the start, and yeah, it might be a bit too hard at the moment, especially with everything happening at once, so I will need to keep tweaking the timing and pacing a bit more to get it just right. Now for decorating the environments, I added buildings, factories at the background, some foreground elements to create depth, rocks, crops, windmills, and all the similar assets, so it may not look complete empty at the moment. I placed each of those assets at respective jet axis to have that parallax effect. To extend the level a bit further, I had this idea of reversing the car's gravity and letting the player drive upside down for a short section. It sounded fun, a bit different, and could add a nice twist to the gameplay. So I extended the path and reused an old wind effect I had created earlier, just as a temporary placeholder to visually represent the gravity reversal. It's definitely not the final effect and it still needs some polish, but for now, it works well enough for the prototype phase. I added a few blocks along the upside down section and began testing how the car behaves with gravity flipped. It actually felt pretty cool watching the car transition, then drive along the ceiling. At the end of the section, I reversed the gravity back to normal and made sure transition felt smooth. Right now, this whole draft is just a rough draft due to the mechanic, but it's working decently for a prototype. It will definitely need to refine the visuals and tweak the gameplay feel later on, but the concept seems solid.